Hello, welcome to this video. This video is going to be called The Future of Music, although it could well be called The Future of Music with a question mark at the end, because I'm not completely confident that I have all the answers, but I'm going to pretend that I do on this video. So I've done a series of videos. Last week I put out a video that explained why I am no longer in any bands. I've left all the bands I'm in. I decided it was a waste of time and I've stopped playing in bands. And that was really not so much leaving the idea of playing in a band, but leaving the idea of trying to do the sort of ritualistic, superstitious ritual, I've used that twice, to try and achieve some success in the music industry, i.e. form a band, write some songs, make an album, go out and gig it, try and get a record deal, you know, that whole thing. And I discounted that and said it doesn't exist anymore. So that was the first video. On the second video, I then discussed the sort of atrophying of progressive rock and how progressive rock has turned into prog rock. And there's no problem with that if you're a fan of the genre of prog rock. But for me as a creative musician, I don't get anything out of it. So I've decided just to exit the world of prog. It's not that I don't want to be associated. I'll still talk about it on this channel. But what I don't want to do is try and use that genre to be creative because it's a dead end. And I did a video about that. And this is all very negative stuff. So I'm there saying, you know, you can't form a band. There's no point in making an album. You're not going to make any money out of it. If you try and gig, then we will come to the gigs. No one will want to buy a ticket, you know, and all the music forms are dead. And if you try and work in those music forms, they'll only hem you in and it will pull your creativity and you'll get depressed. And it's all depressing. And so the reaction has been for many people, well, I make music just for fun. I just do it for my own hobby. It's a hobby and I enjoy it and that's it. I don't want to have any success out of it. That's great. But for me, this has been my life. I have done music professionally since I was around about 19 or 20 years old. Every penny I have made has been made relating to music in some way or form. I'm 56 years old. I just don't know what else I can do, you see. And for the last few years, I've earned my living by teaching music. And I enjoy teaching music and I find it very, very rewarding. I do like helping people out so they can find their way, so they can be creative. That's something that's very strong in me. On this channel, I really try and spread the love that is contained within music and show how that relates to creativity and try and put that out, which I think people like, the fact that I do that. So, but a few years ago, and it goes back to the start of this channel when I started doing these videos, I knew I would lose my job. I knew what I was heading for and it terrified me because I was looking at 56 going, what am I going to do? I cannot go and get a normal job. And I hope I've been saying that resounds with certain people out there. That's not an option for me. And all I can say is I went through the dark night of the soul. And if you watch these videos, you will see underneath it all, me going through that. It starts at the beginning of that period and it goes down and down and down. And then you have to come out. And it's represented by the sort of dip into darkness. If you go through all my videos, they start off just standard, you know, I've just got a video camera, I'm talking. And then they slowly get darker and darker, and you can see me and you can see the stress on my face. And I didn't notice it at the time. I was filming these videos that were almost like pitch black, right? And then I come out of that, and now I'm here in this environment. And this environment, for me, represents a journey. But I've had to go through the dark night of the soul. And sometimes, when you're in that, you realize that what the problem is for you to move forward in your life, you have to try. Well, you don't have to try. You have to become the thing that you should be. And if you consider what you should be, for most people, that makes them anxious. This is a very difficult thing to get across. I've sat with students and you get them to write on a piece of paper, what do they want? And they don't know. And you have to tease it out of them. And as it starts to form in front of them, they go, oh my God, if that happened, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I deal with it. I don't know how I could deal with that, right? And so they're in a situation where they're not happy where they are, but if they follow their heart, their creative heart, and actually achieved what they wanted, it would be a terrifying situation for them to be in. So they play at doing it, but not actually want to go there. And that pain of being reborn into a new way of thinking is a horrible thing to go through. And I went through it. I definitely went through it. And I know the very point when I was at my lowest ebb. And I've spoken about that a little bit here, and I don't want to get into that. But in that, I think I've eventually, with much thought, come up with not an alternative. It is the goal that we should all be going for if we're creative people. Now, I am going to tell you what the future of music is. The future of music is collaboration. Now, I wish I could put that up as the title, because that's the real heart of this video. The future of music is in collaboration. So, I've been able to reconstitute myself. I'm quite happy. I have now nailed my creative outlets. I've nailed the sort of financial situation. I have this studio. I can come in here if I want and be creative. I can do whatever I want. I feel like I've got somewhere which is quite positive. A lot of my musicians and friends are ringing me up and they're asking me about it, and I'm advising them, and some of them are going, "Oh my God, you're right, Andy, this is brilliant." And other people are going, "Oh, I don't want to be a content creator." I'm not talking about being a content creator. And so I've been now trying to crystallize what it is that's the way you have to think if you want to be a creative person and work as a professional creative person. And the answer is in collaboration. So, a few weeks ago, Busta Rhymes, the great rapper, brought out a new single. Can't remember the name of it. It says it's like something like Busta Bum or something like that, part 2. This is a standard pop song. It's a description of a dance. It's like the twist, let's twist again. It's one of those classic pop songs, and Busta understands it inside out. And it starts up, and it's in a lovely setting, a sort of, it's out in the open, sunshiny day, everyone's having a party, they're eating food. And Busta walks in, and he explains a dance called the Musa Bum, or whatever it's called, I can't remember what it's called. And he explains what you do. And he delivers it brilliant. He has an incredible hook. And in that video, having a hamburger or something, is LL Cool J. And I like to see LL Cool J. I thought, LL Cool J's he's gone to a barbecue around Buster's house. It's brilliant. And I thought, where's all the big cars bouncing up down? Where's the girls with the wiggly bottoms? Where's the people smoking joints and the big puffs of smoke coming out? Where's the money being thrown around? Where's all that decadent, horrible thing that's got into hip-hop and turned it into a minstrel show? And I thought, Buster's making a massive statement here. Because in the old days, he would just spew out, I used to love it, but he would offense, and it was funny, and it was all this. But this was wholesome. It was wholesome and brilliant. And it was like a master going, this is how you make a pop song. It was just brilliant. But within that, all the Buster things were there. And actually, his rapping and voice has gone even further back to the blues. I could hear, I think that's why I liked it, I could hear the blues in his voice. I could hear the rasp of James Brown in his voice. I could hear the shriek of Little Richard. It was in the tradition. It was really, I really loved it. I listened to it 3 times because I loved it so much. And I thought, I wonder what LL Cool J's up to then. So I checked out LL Cool J's new album, and he has done a single with Eminem called Murder Armor. This is just incredible. Absolutely brilliant track. The virtuosity of LL Cool J, who is one of probably the first virtuoso monster rapper, and he's still there delivering it. And then Eminem, who is just like the Don. And they're bouncing off. It's incredible. The music's brilliant, and it's just absolutely, it's a brilliant track. There's no drumming on it, and it's samples and stuff like that, but have a listen to it. And realise that the virtuosity is in the rapping, and see how the music backs that up. And hopefully, I know a lot of people don't like rap, and they'll think, oh, and he's talking about rap now. He's talking about the future of music. He's talking about rap. So I looked at Buster's album, and all the way down it is collaborations. There's all different people, like Snoop Dogg's on it, and then Eminem's on it, or whatever. And then you go into LL Cool J. So there's all these collaborations. And I thought, rappers collaborate. And then I started to think about what I learned when I got involved in dance music and the garage scene. And then I started to work with rappers. And this is 30 years ago. I realized that the success of that music, and the reason why it just knocked rock music out at that point, you know, you had Nirvana, the last gasp, and then it was over, right? It was over, and it slowly died away. It was because dance music, electronic music, hip hop, rap, it created another way of being creative and being able to build a business out of it. Now, so the first thing is, you didn't need a recording studio. Got a sampler, you can do it. You've got 2 turntables, you can make a record. With hip hop, you have lyrics and you have groove, and that's the essential things you need for a pop song, really, you know, and a hook. And hooks don't have to be melodies. And anybody who turns around who likes heavy rock and heavy metal that goes, oh, there's no tunes, it's just rapping, yeah. Well, go and listen to any rock track, you know, and listen to what's going on, and you'll see it's the same level of melody on a Led Zeppelin song as there is on a rap song. And rappers do sing, Eminem sings, Buster sings, have a listen to it, they do, you know. And so there was a new way of creating music, and it cut out the music industry. Before download and the internet came along, it had already done that. You can literally, if you want to establish yourself as a dance act, all you have to do is identify a track that's in the charts, grab the a cappella, remix it into whatever dance music style you're into, drum and bass or house music or techno or garage or whatever it is, and stick it onto a white label, or now just stick it as an MP3 online. And then DJs can play that. And if that track hits without the record company, the DJs can get it in front of an audience of thousands. That track, especially with the internet, it works in the favor because that track will replicate itself online. Other people will download it. The DJs want to hit them with something new. There's a whole structure there which is far more conducive to this than the old record industry. You need a record label. They're going to pay for you to go in $1 million studio, pay a big producer to do it. Everyone's going to have to go in a house, write all the songs and all that thing, which was the only way to do it in the 1970s, is now gone because there's this way of doing it, and it's never going to go back in the box. Pandora's box has been opened. And I thought, yeah, and I've known this for years. I've known the alternative way of doing it that, let's just say, electronic music brought to the industry, obviously is going to usurp. And that's only got more and more extreme. And we will lament that on this channel because we love perform music. Now, I do love perform music. I love people playing instruments. I like to hear a groove. That is what I like. That's what I want to do. That is what I'm trying to find a way of being able to do, knowing that forming a band to do that and trying to go out and gig and trying to get a record deal, no one's even signing bands. That's not a thing, right? So I'm looking at all these albums. I thought they're all collaborating. Why are they collaborating? And I suddenly realised they don't have bands, and that music's communal. You can make music on your own, but there's a limit to what you can do. So you need to work with other people. That's a creative thing. And what happens with the band is you pick those people and then you stick with them. Now, the reason why bands stay together, I'll tell you why, is that people form a band. They write some songs. In the old days, they go out and they would gig that nobody was interested in because it was crap. And then they just fall by the wayside. And then their old men go, oh, I had a band when I was a kid. Yeah, we did a few gigs at so-and-so. You always get to that point. You know when you've got to the point where you book that gig, all your friends go to see it. They watch you play your 4 songs that you've written. They all clap you because they're impressed that you're their friends and they've done a thing. It's a big success. And then it's over. That's it. It's done. Finished. And so a band that didn't have that happen, if they got signed to a label, then they would stick together as long as that label was supporting them to do it. And if out of that process, if they were like the one in a million that actually had a hit record and then sold some records, they would stick together because of that motivation. Then they would get used to it. They would get used to being in that position. And then the nastiness and enmity that existed right from day one that they were all repressing. They sort of go, well, actually, I think I should be writing songs on this album. Well, you didn't even write that song on that album. And the thing with you is you're always bossing anybody who put you in charge, and all that starts to happen, right? And then you see the band fall apart. And if you happen to be a group of people that actually really love each other and get on, which is like U2 and bands like that, then you'll stay together. I'm sure they all hate each other anyway. Anyway, so this collaboration happens because in dance music and hip hop and stuff like this, you don't have albums. Albums don't matter. In the 90s, hip hop has started to make albums. There's some great albums there, but they don't matter. One track matters because it's the one track that's going to lead you out. In the old days, it was the single, but now you don't need the single to point to the album. The album doesn't exist anymore. There is only just the single. We all know this, right? And so you have the single, that one track. You're not going to have a band on, you're going to have a collaboration, right? The collaboration is really important. And the collaborations puts you into a community. So however powerful LL Cool J is and Busta Rhymes and Eminem and Q-Tip, whoever it is, right? When they all collaborate, they times that by 4 or 8 or 10. Magnified. So you can see there's a business model there that exists on collaboration. So how does this relate to the way I see the industry working? Well, I think that when you form a band, your job is to make great music. And when you make great music, you need to develop a fan base for that music. Now, the internet provides that for you. And actually, if you work well and you know what you're doing and you have some good advice and you do make some decent songs, you will straight away develop a very small fan base. And these people who are happy to make it for fun, it's because they have a band camp and they probably have about 6 people who listen to what they do. And that's enough. That's enough. They can do a listening party and their friends arrive and they listen to the new album and they go, that's really good. We really love it. That is your phase 1 fan base. They're your friends, your phase 1 fan base. And everybody can get to that point, right? So you've got that phase 1 fan base here. Now, this person over here, he's got their phase 1 fan base, and this person's over here's got their phase 1 fan base. So the obvious thing to do, and the truth in this video is a very simple thing. You go to that person and you go, I like what you do, and you've got your phase 1 fan, but you've got your 10 people, and I've got my 10 people. Why don't we collaborate on one track, right? Let's not get into a situation where we're going to hate each other in 2 years. Let's just do one track together. I'm going to collaborate with you, come over, and then that person comes over. Now, this is the thing. Now this person's coming over to collaborate with you. Now, you're doing that online, maybe, or you might be doing it face-to-face. I think we need to get back to doing it face-to-face. I think people need to start getting in the same room and working with each other, especially when it comes to perform music. And so you're going to collaborate. So you get together. As soon as you start to talk and go through that process you need to put out there, because your phase 1 audience it'll be like they're sat there and then suddenly they get a notification. He goes, I'm going to work with this new artist. And your phase 1 audience goes, woo, who's this then? I'll have a listen to them because I bought into this guy. I bought into the other, but I'll have a listen to them. So they have a listen to them. Oh, I like them. And then the collaborator goes, I've sold a few CDs on Bandcamp, or I've got a few more followers, or whatever it is you're trying to get. I'll get to what you're trying to get in the end. Later on. So they're happy, you know, these things cross-fertilizing and stuff like that. And you announce it, so I'm going to work with this person. So there's a bit of interest there. Oh, that's quite good. That's quite good. And then you might have a photograph of you working together. You might write up what you're planning to do. You might put some videos of the sessions. That collaborative process is actually easier to create content with because you are talking, you're engaging. It's very difficult to do what I'm doing now. I'm in a room all on my own. There's nobody here at all. And I'm in a room trying to pretend that you're out there and I'm talking to you. And I've had to learn to do that. And I think I'm getting okay at it now. I think I know how to do that. And I know how to work with that. But I understand most people, this is a terrifying thing. But it's very easy if you've got somebody else to interview that person or to sit down and go, what we do today? Well, I thought we'd try and get a bass line up today. So, we both here, we both play bass. Who do you think's the best player? I don't know. Shall we both have a go? I tell you what, you know, you lot that are watching, or get him to do the bass line, and you think, tell me what, that engagement starts to bring people in. And what happens is they go online and they go, I'm phase one audience, I like this guy, he's my mate, I chat to him, but he's doing this now, and now he's doing this. And people love a story. They get brought into the story. And eventually that track is done. And that track goes out into the world. And they all get it. And you double your fan base to what we now have, the phase two fan base, which includes people that you don't know. And your job then is to make friends with them, thus doubling your fan base. And you go, right, done that, work, collaborated with that guy. Now, when you do something in the music industry, there's a bit where you've got to keep pushing it on people, but also you've got to give people a rest. This is a big problem with bands. They'll form a band, they'll go and do a gig, all their friends come, they think that's brilliant, shall we do another gig then? So they go down the road 3 miles, find another venue, they ring up their mates, you want to come down? Half of them come this time. The third gig, nobody comes. Now, what are we going to do? And then they hit the wall. Right, so you collaborated with that person. Now that person now needs to go off and do that with somebody else, and you need to reach out to somebody else, thus trebling your audience. Right, then you need to do that to someone else. There's quadrupling your audience. So by the time you've done 10 tracks, collaborated with all these different people, and if you're into performed music, who are those collaborators? Other musicians, drummers, bass, but you're not playing, you're not forming a band. You're in a wider community of musicians. You go, I'm going to work with that drummer. I'm going to work with that guitarist. I'm going to see if that singer sings on my track. And then eventually you create this album that has all these collaborations on. And then you have worked on these other stuff at the same time with all their collaborators on, and you start to open this up wide. Now, this audience goes phase one, phase two, and at certain points, you get to a point where these people are no longer your friends. They are just people of fans to you. And then you become a special thing to them because they're not engaging with you, but they like you, they like your music. And then if you send them the message, they go, oh my God, so-and-so just spoke to me, and I've got their album. They got 200 people into this album. He says there's a lot of people on there, right? That is a community that has formed around you, right? That is the key. A band in the old days created, using a record label and using albums and tours, a community that was based around that band. And once you have that, your second album they buy because they like you. They buy the crap album and they put it in the other collection. They stick with you and hope you do better on the next album. This has always happened. An artist is creating a community around them, right? That is the future. Is your goal is to create that community. And there's a number of ways you can do it. And if you look at the platforms that are out there, whether it be Spotify or whether it be Bandcamp or if it's Instagram or even Facebook or dare I say YouTube or TikTok, whichever one you sort of feel comfortable with, or all of them or just one, if you use that cleverly, you will be able to slowly, using the method of collaboration, to open up. Now, I actually find this really exciting. If I had a choice between putting a band together that I've got to stick in for the next 2 years and write songs with those people, I know within a few months I'm going, I don't want to work with that guitarist. And it's nothing against these musicians. I like these musicians, but I want to do that as well. And I want to work with that person. And I wouldn't mind being produced by that. That is what I want to do. And what you're going to see, hopefully, as we go on, is people will be coming into this place that I've got here. We'll be sitting down, we'll talk about music, we'll talk about bands we like, we'll make cover versions, we'll try just to maybe just play riffs, our favourite riffs, or, mess around, chat, have a laugh, show the process, go wrong. Try and show people how music's actually made, which is through incompetence, not through knowing everything. If you know everything, just stop, because you're not being creative. You have to be in the realm of incompetence where you don't know what's going to happen next. I want to show all of that, and I want that to, and people are watching it, and then they go, well, I actually quite like the track that those guys came up with. All right, then, there it is, go and buy it. Right, this model is a brilliant model, but the thing is this community you need to own. You don't own your community on YouTube, YouTube does. You don't own your community on Facebook, Facebook does. And all of these, if you want to talk to them or reach out to them, Facebook will go, oh yeah, well, you've done your job, now you pay us. We've done our part of it, you've got your community here, this is why you came here, we didn't charge you for it. right? You haven't paid us any money. So if you want to reach it, you're going to have to pay us. And everyone hits this. And then their Facebook going, I've got 3,000 followers now. And it's like, I put a post out. I put one of, I photographed my arse, on the other day when I was on holiday, and I got like 350 likes. And then I've just put my new albums come on. They got 4 likes, right? I've got a ton of followers on Facebook. I just know that if I was to photograph my foot, right, and stick it up on my Facebook, that will get way more likes than a link to my latest video on YouTube, even though I have 42,000 subscribers on YouTube. I have literally put links like that on Facebook, and when I've come back a day later and had a look, there are no likes. Facebook went, he's definitely not having that one. If he wants that one, he'll pay, and we're making him to pay through the nose. And my attitude is, hang on, I've built something up on Facebook. on YouTube. I'm not going to pay you, Facebook, $100 to reach a number that I can reach just like this. Because in doing YouTube, I've seen the power of YouTube, because YouTube's model is different to Facebook, right? YouTube's model is they want you to make videos. They want those videos to be really popular so loads of people can watch them, so they can study who's watching them and put adverts on there. And they're willing to pay the person doing that a very small amount if they can get the views. And if you can get a hell of a lot of views, because they're not interested in 200 views, they're interested in thousands, 10,000s, 100,000, millions of views. And the more you get that, the more they will pay you, right? Bandcamp's the same thing. Bandcamp wants you to sell records. Now, the reason is because they're getting a cut. So when you've got some sort of distribution out there, unless you're paying for them, or best, there's getting a cut. If they're getting a cut, their interest will be in pushing you. And so your part of the bargaining is just to build up the audience, and I've told you how to do that now through collaboration. Now, the ultimate place for me is Patreon. Patreon, for me, for any creative person, rather than go, I'm a creative musician, I want to get my music out there, so let's form a band, record a demo and put it up and press some CDs and try and sell them on gigs. That is stupid. If you're a creative person, you go, right, I'm a creative person, so what's the first thing I'm going to do? Create a Patreon account. That is the first thing. You create your Patreon account. And if you don't know how to do that, or you're not, it's pretty much you put a photograph of yourself and you fill out all the things. That's the job. That's a creative bit that I enjoy, right? And I think those who turn around and say, "But I don't want to do that," I feel like, well, okay, then just do it as a hobby. And but I'm not talking to those people. Those people are in a career in this. You're going to have to realize that being able to create content, and there's such a wide variety of what content can be. But if you want to create content, if you don't want to create content, it's like you don't want to be a pop star. In the old days, to get your music out there, you had to be a pop star. So you had to make sure you're trendy and your hair cut a certain way and you look cool, And I knew so many bands in the old days that would form, and they'd all go down, they get signed up, and then the ugly guitarist, who was the one who really was the brains behind the band, they sacked him. Yeah, we'll sign you up, but your guitarist. We've got a guitarist we can put in. He's a bit ugly, isn't he, that bloke? You're all right doing him in, stabbing him in the back for a record deal. Yeah, okay then. We'll do that, yes. We'll have to tell him. What shall we tell him? Can't we just lose him? Can't we lose him in the shopping mall somewhere? Get him in Dixon's, so when he gets engrossed, you know what he's like, anal retentive. When he gets engrossed looking at fuses or something, we'll do a runner and leave him there. Anyway, all that is true. All this, I know this has happened. Anyway, so you form your Patreon. Then all the stuff I'm doing, where you could use Bandcamp, you could use Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff where you're reaching out and you're building your audience through collaboration. That is the central theme of this video. You are ultimately driving people to Patreon. And for me, the thing that has worked very well is I have, in a perfect world, every bit of content on Patreon would be free. So when you go over, you don't pay anything, but you join it, you're free and you can see everything, right? When I set it up, I didn't realize this. So I set it up, and so people get contact when they pay for it. So half my content is free. and the good stuff you have to pay for. And the reason I don't shift it over is because all the people will be paying will go, hang on, I've been paying all this money to you, and now, you're giving it away, and I was paying for all this before, and I don't think that's right. But on top of this, it's actually quite hard to get the extra content up. I spent the weekend and made 2 proper documentaries, and I cocked one up. So the one I cocked up, I put up for free, but the other one was a lot of work, and I put that up for paid. This is, once you understand this model, you drive people to Patreon, and really what you're trying to get is those people, rather than buying a CD off you, right, they're paying a little bit more, but over time, to support you in what you do. And so all this audience that you build, which I called phase 1 and phase 2, we'll now put that all into chapter 1. They're your patrons. Now, your patrons, you engage with them in the spirit that they are on your side. And I love my patrons, and they are a lovely bunch of people. And the best thing I ever did on Patreon was to set up the Patreon WhatsApp group. I'm very proud of that. I don't engage with it much because I want to leave them, because they have collected around me and the music I like and my sense of humor and a whole bunch of things that they like about me. And so they all get that. And when you go into that WhatsApp group, they've got a terrific sense of humor. They share incredible music. There's a lot going on. And I think some of them have even made friends, and they're collaborating themselves. And then in seeing that, I start to see this is the way it works. This is a pure meritocracy. It's all down to how good the music is. Because in the end, as a creative person, you want to face the thing and go, right, what's the next track I'm going to make? And it has to be great. And it's difficult to make good music, and people make a mistake. And I could do a video on that, the big mistakes that people make, which is why nobody likes what they do. So once you've got that patron there and you've got the situation, you are now in sort of cold cycle of creativity. There's the cold cycle of learning, and I've adapted it to the cold cycle of creativity, which means you should now be going around this circle of creating stuff, and then having, you need to, if you're a creative person, you need to do that rhythmically, and a lot of bands try and do it all at the same time. You need to consider what your next statement's going to be. Right, that will be based upon new experiences. If you haven't got new ideas, you need new experiences. So go on holiday somewhere, or go and chat to people, do something else, or, like the oblique strategies of Brian Eno. And once you've got that, that will start to get vague ideas, and then you form those vague ideas into concrete ideas, and then you put them into practice. And then the most important thing is, once you've got those ideas, you put them out, and that's done, and then you move on. And the collaboration thing should be driven by your desire to go, the next thing I want to do is work with a tuba player, or the next thing I want to do is do some stuff with maybe a dance music producer, or I'm doing instrumental stuff. I need to really get a singer on this. This is all the stuff that drives you. And once you're in that circle and you've got your Patreon there and you've got all your social networks, once you see the Patreon of being the vessel, right? So if you make an album, right, you can put it on Bandcamp, you can even sell CDs, but the truth is the patrons are going to get it free. There you are, there's the new album. Filmed a live concert the other day. There you are, patrons. We were in the studio and we filmed some of the sessions. There you are, patrons. There you are. That is your outlet. And as time went on, and when I first set my Patreon up, I stumbled around it trying to work out how to create content, because I just thought what I do is I just do more YouTube videos but put them into Patreon. But it's not that at all. And anything will do. So I'm going to give you some ideas that you can do. So if you've got 10 people in your Patreon and they like what you do, you can set up a Zoom meeting, and that's free. You can do half an hour for free. Everyone gets to the Zoom meeting, you have a chat about stuff. And I started doing these Patreon meetings. I've stopped doing them for, I found that politics was getting a bit into it, because we moved away from chatting about music. It just became like a little club. And also once the WhatsApp group was set up, I felt like the Zoom meeting. But Zoom meeting's a great way of doing it. You go into your Patreon, you say, on Friday we're going to have a Zoom meeting. There you go. There's the invite. And then they all come in, you hit record, you have a big chat to them, and then you take the file and you put it in there. And then when new people join as free members, they go, oh, that looks cool. They watch it. I want to be doing that. Oh, you're going to be a paid member to do that. So that is one way. Because the thing is, don't feel guilty. I mean, I do all the time, but don't feel guilty about trying to make creative stuff that is good enough to motivate people to part with their cash so that they can support you. Because the way I do feel really guilty about this a lot of the time. But what I say to myself is that I'm trying to keep my end of the bargain up. And if they like what they do, they might get some enjoyment by going, I really do want to support Andy. I want to help him. I want to support him. So it's not, you're generating money not because of sort of capitalist exchange of goods. It's a completely different thing. It is literally patronage, and people are supporting you because you like you, and you try and give back what you can do, and they give what you can do. And of course, you've got to remember the world has it is a spectrum of poor to rich, and so in this system, you can get a little bit like Marxist, and that is created with a sort of anarcho-Marxist way in the creative realm by going, you just pay what you want. If you go to my Bandcamp, any of you can go to my Bandcamp now, and you can download an album for free. You put 0 in. I don't mind you doing it. If you want to do it, if you've got no money, go and grab an anchor, go grab the whole lot for free. Right? If you go and join my Patreon, and you do that one payment for that 1 month, you can watch everything on there, all 200 videos, all the stuff that got, and my whole collection of albums and then collaborations and stuff that's not on Bandcamp, you just could grab, and then you can stop your membership at the end of the month, right? And so this gives people a choice of how much they want to pay. Now, in this world, people who are wealthier they're wealthier, and most people want to share the wealth, so they will pay more. And some people will pay less, and some people will pay nothing at all. And I think giving people that option is another thing that is key to how you're going to make a living out of this business, right? So other ideas that you could do on Patreon. I sketch ideas out. I have always when I do these YouTube videos, I don't script them, as you could tell. I come on and I start talking, and when I think I've got to end, I stop talking. But I do a ton of writing. I do exploration into certain ideas, tons of research. That is going on absolutely all the time. Before I did YouTube, I had a blog that nobody read. But every time an idea came into my head, I would wake up on a Saturday morning and get my laptop in bed and get my cup of tea, and I would write my ideas down, get them down on paper, because it was almost like do my head in. When Patreon started up, and this really boosted Patreon, I went and got all those posts and I tidied them up and expanded on them, and I put them all in to Patreon. And then once I did that, if I've got a new idea, sometimes I'll sketch it out. Sometimes, every now and then, I'll work with the patrons on a new video or a new idea. There's actually creative people in there. I'm interested in trying to help them share their albums, get their music out there. There's an educational aspect to it. There's a whole bunch of things. The problem with all of this, it's actually very difficult to explain what you need to do, because actually, if you do this well, your content will be unique to you. It could be spoken word stuff, it could be photographs. You might go for a walk in the forest and photograph all that stuff, and then write a little story. And the people who love your albums then buy into the fact that every week they get this story on Patreon. And I haven't even mentioned the tears, not the tears of joy that we finally found a way of making money out. So I'm on about the different tiers, where you can pay for stuff more. You can get more stuff, it's like on mine at the end of the week, because I have a pair of pants. I wear the pants for the whole week. And at the end of the thing, I'm just slinging them and buy a new pair of pants. But now I'm selling them on one of the higher tiers on Patreon. I'm not doing this at all. This is a total joke. But I'm sure. I mean, this is getting into OnlyFans territory. Patreon is like OnlyFans, but for musicians. That is the way of imagining it. So, to summarise, build your audience through collaborations. Don't form a band, keep your options open, and see It doesn't have to be Patreon. If you can think of another place, because Bandcamp will do this, you could set up a subscription service on Bandcamp, if you know of other ways of collecting an audience that you can monetize, put it in the comments, because the one I use is Patreon. That's all I know. But that is the central thing. If you decide to do a gig in your band, you only do that gig to drive people to Patreon. If you're making an album, you're only making that album to drive people to Patreon. You have to realise that the album's not going to make you the money. The gig's not going to make you money. None of it is going to make you the money. Patreon is going to make you the money. Being in a club. Now, when downloading came along, right, this is what the industry should have done. The big problem with Spotify is not the split. It's nothing to do with that. It's the fact that your track just goes into the sea of all tracks, so then you try and collect money, even though everyone's getting the whole lot for free. On Bandcamp, when you pay for an album, then you could stream that album. Now, how many of us would be happier with Spotify is if you went on it and it goes, I only want to listen to one album on Spotify. Oh, well, then you only have to pay 1 pence a month. Okay, I'll pay 1 pence a month. Well, about 2 albums. Well, it's 2 pence a month, and you'd find that would be a more efficient way, because you'd be getting a pence on every album that people bought into it, which is more than what you get on Spotify. It's not to do with the cut. It's the fact that everybody's there. Now, the reason for that is that the whole music industry has become an add-on that people put into an iPhone or an Apple Mac or whatever it is. That's what it's become. And they're buying you in so they can advertise to you. The companies, the digital technology companies, do not make money out of that, but they get money out of the thing I'm talking into, which is my iPhone at the moment. You have to understand that. And that's an interesting thing, because if you have gathered an audience around you, you can sell actual things. I think trying to sell digital stuff's difficult, but you can sell actual things. This is the bizarre bit. And so suddenly you go, well, I wonder if you could sell a CD. Well, a CD is an actual thing, but you can sell a key ring. You can sell a T-shirt. You can sell your own mug. You can sell an action figure of yourself, probably, if you can make one. You know, you could get a piece of paper and every night do a nice little sketch on it, and then the next night, and then you can put those up and sell them as pieces of art. Because if somebody's there going, I quite fancy that, and it'll always come down to how good the stuff is that you're doing. You've got to understand, real things you can sell, and CDs are real things. So once you get to that point, as part of your business model, you will be able to sell the CD, but that comes off the fact that you've got this audience that have bought into you and are supporting you. The music industry should have done that. Every band, when the download came along, they should have gone, join our club. Now, bands like Marillion did this. Bands like Marillion could get to #1 in the charts here in the UK. They had to be banned from it because they galvanised their audience. They realised that audience that they had was the most important thing. Now, if you think of what I've said here, your audience is the most important thing. You need to own your audience. In the old days, and the thing that everyone's all nostalgic for, the record company owned your audience, not you. If you left that record company, you had to get lawyers in to try and get control of it so you could get your stuff to that audience. And the only way you could do that is by taking hold of the gigs, because you have the legacy of being able to go out and play to band and trying to sign people up. If you're not in that position, you're building this up from the bottom. So if you fundamentally collaborate to build your audience, create a club where people can go in, try and monetize that in a variety of ways, then what you will have is every month there will be a sum of money coming in. And I promise, if I work with any artist and advise them and they went through the things, I think at the end of it, when they came out, we could have probably got a Patreon set up with about 5 or 6 people in. Now, that's the hard work. You've only got 5 people in, and if you neglect it, they will just sit there. And believe it or not, they'll go for quite a long time before they decide to jump out. But if you start to engage with those 5 people, you've now got your audience. It's called a captive audience, and they're there. And if you can't deliver to those 5, you shouldn't be doing this. But if you can, and you can start to get that stuff out there. Now, fundamentally, what am I saying? Say you don't want to create content, you don't want to do videos, you don't want to do this, this, and this. Then you have to ask yourself, if you're collaborating with other artists and all you have is a track, where's the best place to put that track? It's in a place where your audience can get it, the ones that you have captured, right? And so it could be a situation where you may just only be putting a track out every week or every 2 weeks. So you collaborate through the week, you get the track mix, which means you're going to have to work quick. There's no room for perfectionism anymore in the industry, especially when it comes to performed music. I don't feel I've talked about the fact that I see this as being a boon for performed music. And the reason is because, yes, if you're making dance music, you collaborate with another producer, you might collaborate with a rapper, all the stuff I described at the front. But performed music is about collaboration. You see what I mean? There is nothing to stop you picking up a guitar, bringing your mate round, putting an iPhone up and doing a little concert to the iPhone and sticking it up in your Patreon. Stop thinking in terms of tracks. Stop thinking in terms of albums. The performed product can be a video of a gig. It could be you jamming in a room. It could be a video that you've shot. There's so many ways of doing this. Absolutely so many ways. So if you like the video, put a like on it. If you want to see some more and you want more of this information, if you feel it's helpful, subscribe to it and put a comment saying this is great, I want to hear more of that, or can you tell us a bit more about this? This is what I'm here to do. You know, I need ideas all the time. I'm an idea monger. I need ideas for the channel. I'm not going to say go and... My link to the patrons down below. I've spent the whole thing telling that. So shall we get set up and have a go, shall we? So when you next see me, I will be doing an improvised piece with a loop pedal. See how that goes.